Hello everyone, today I'm going to share with you guys an unexpected and nail-biting event of my life. But before getting into the video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more interesting and suspenseful real couple stories. My wife really did something unfair, was such a bitch. Meet me. This is Lee and William. Currently, I'm working as a content creator in a tourism company. Tracing back to 2021 when I got married to a young and beautiful girl named Sarah. I met her on Instagram during the lockdown time. I remember COVID-19 was going on these days and everyone was quarantined. I was from New York and she used to live in Chicago. We used to talk on an almost daily basis. I developed feelings for her and proposed to her. Our feelings were the same for each other. So we got married and Sarah shifted to New York. Well, to be honest, I saw her for the very first time in reality when we were going to marry and was just on the way to church. This is really the fact that there is difference between the online person and the person in reality. Our wedding night was really perplexing. I remember she was continuously looking here and there like if she wanted to identify something. When I asked her the reason for her restlessness, my wife replied that she was thinking that I was very rich. Well, to be honest, I got disappointed from her at the start. I then gave her a beautiful gift which is really light. I found her so attractive physically. I remember I enjoyed a lot. Our relationship is really good. There were just 3 people in my house. Me, my mother and my wife. My mother was really happy with my wife. She was indeed very creative and responsible girl. She used to cook food regularly for me. And on my arrival from office, she used to cuddle me every time things were going well. One day when I woke up, I caught my wife searching her documents. When I asked her why she needed to have them, my wife replied that one of her neighbor friends suggested her a teaching job. Well, to be honest, I had no problem with my wife's decision. In fact, I wanted her to be familiar with New York City. I remember when she house reached from her workplace, she seemed really happy and told me about subjects and students. In the same days, my mother shifted to my aunt's house because my aunt was really ill. I remember whenever I used to ask my wife about her family, she always used to change the topic cunningly. She never exposed anything about her family. She just told me that her grandmother raised her and she had been died. I never considered this thing. Well, her physical relationship is really good and we used to enjoy a lot on weekends, but things started getting worse. Like one day when my wife reached the house from her workplace, she seemed very tired. I remember her mood was really not good. She was so dull that as soon as she reached the house, she threw away her bag and slept. When I tried to wake her up, I caught her weeping. I got very nervous after seeing her like this. I hardly hugged her, but she did not respond me back. I thought that she was in a bad mood and she probably had a professional conflict in her workplace. When I asked her what happened to her, she said that she was having a headache. Well, I asked her to take the rest, but it was really strange that she was continuously using her mobile phone. I had never seen her like this before. Well, I ignored and thought that maybe she was passing her time in scrolling down social media cunts. The next morning when I woke up, I caught my wife in front of the mirror. I remember she was putting on a lot of makeup and was wearing a hot and attractive yellow-colored dress. It seemed like she was having some event at her workplace because I had never seen her so prepared before. When I asked my wife if I should drop her, she literally refused to me. I remember she was so fond of having a drive with me that she used to even ask me to pick her at the grocery store. Well, when I reached my workplace, I was continuously thinking about last night. My wife's behavior was really strange. So I decided to take her out for dinner. When I reached the house, my wife was already present in the house. I remember she was sleeping. I kissed her on the forehead and asked her to go for dinner. When we reached the restaurant, I found her so unusual. Like she was in deep thought. It seemed like she was swept in some thoughts. It was really a strange thing that my wife was continuously looking at her mobile phone like she was waiting for someone's message. She was never like this before. I remember our dinner used to be full of romance and love. But this time she was just quiet. She was showing no interest. I remember her phone was continuously vibrating on our way back to the house. When I held my wife's hand, she did not respond to me. I remember we used to be so uncomfortable with each other before that we used to have cute gossips, short hugs and even kisses as soon as we reached the house. My wife hardly went to the washroom along with her mobile phone. I remember she came out of the washroom after about 20 minutes that night, was really restless. When I continuously was thinking about my life, the way she was ignoring me was really stimulating and thought-provoking. Her behavior was changing day by day. She used to be very responsible before, but she became so irresponsible that she even stopped making breakfast for me. Things have been really complicated since she joined her workplace one day. Something really unexpected and unbelievable happened that will surely shock you. One day when I went to lunch along with my coworkers, I was shocked to see my wife at the same restaurant. I remember she was along with an old man. It seemed like they were both having a serious conversation. As soon as my wife found me at front of her, her reaction was really normal and moderate. In fact, she introduced me to the old man and said that it was her principal in the school where she was working. I remember in response of that old man was beyond my understanding. He was literally gazing at me and seemed really rude and aggressive. Well, I really did not consider his behavior and asked my wife to go with me to the house. But she denied and said that she had to take class in the school. Well, it was her job timing, but I really did not know what she was doing at this time. Along with her school's principal, she must be at her school where she was working at this time. But I did not take anything on the nerves and went back to my workplace because obviously there is no means to suspect my wife, as that old man was really ugly and was having mature age. I was really quite satisfied at night when I reached house. I caught my wife at front of mirror. She was putting powder on her neck. Like if she was hiding something. I realized that my wife was actually trying to hide a wound on her arm. Well, when she found me at back of her, she was really confused and then said to me that a mosquito bite her. I really did not ask her about her wound, but she was continuously giving me an explanation. I then gave her an ointment and asked her to put it on her wound. She was really confused and seemed like she was hiding something. Things are really noticeable that time. But I used to trust her a lot that I never thought anything negative about my wife. I remember it was Sunday night. I was really very high that night. I really wanted my wife physically. So I moved towards her. But something really awkward happened. I remember my wife literally pushed me back, said that she was not in the mood to have a bad time. I was literally shocked because for the very first time, she refused me like this. She was so fond of having physical activities with me before. Like I remember she used to insist me for a bedtime. The way she responded was just rubbish. But I was continuously ignoring because I always is the thing that maybe my wife got some random mood swings. Well, I left the station along with my coworkers for work purposes. I wanted my mom to come into our house so that my wife would not be alone in the house, but my wife refused and said that she would definitely handle everything. Well, when I reached the station, fortunately, I got a very good project. Had to share this good news with my wife, but I remember she was not picking my call. It was really strange that she did not even ask me whether I reached or not. Her behaviors were really disappointing. I remember she replied back to my message. After about 2 hours, I had never thought that my wife would be so irresponsible. That was pure love marriage. Our bonding was really very close. She was making me upset tremendously. I really did not know how a person could be so changed just in someone's. Well, I was really occupied in my work and soon I got my project successful. it was going to be my first wedding anniversary in first week. I was extremely excited about it because unfortunately, I was fully occupied with my great request. I made my boss agree with me and he gave me a leave for a few days while I really wanted to celebrate our wedding anniversary, the best. I planned a lot. I wanted to give my wife a wonderful surprise. I thought that this surprise would definitely make my relationship with me better. Luckily, I got enough money for my project. I decided to buy an expensive ring for Mai because she was really fond of expensive gifts. I even bought some branded clothes and shoes to make my wife happy. I really wanted to fix everything and improve my relationship with my wife. So I even ordered a customized cake as well. Well, I obviously did not inform my wife about my arrival because I wanted to give her a surprise. Finally, it was our first wedding anniversary on the 13th of April 2021. I was really shocked that it did not even send me a single text. I literally cried that day because I loved her with all my heart. I remember the next day at Friday's morning, my wife wished and said that her phone had some issues last night. I did not argue as I really did not want to ruin my plan. I was really very excited to celebrate my first anniversary with my wife as I had the hope that maybe my wife would become the one who she used to be before. I remember it was Friday's night and it was about 8 p.m. When I finally reached the house, I was shocked to see a luxurious car outside of my house. I moved inside of the house and was shocked to see all the lights were off. There was literally silence everywhere in the house. Meanwhile, I heard some inappropriate sounds like if someone was moaning loudly. My feet froze because it was my wife's voice. I took some courage and kept following the voices. I was shocked to see my wife having physical activities with a teenager. I was literally shocked. I had never seen that person before in my life. I was just about to go inside the bedroom in order to appear in front of them. Meanwhile, my phone began to vibrate. I remember after hearing the vibration, they both were attentive and began to hide each other. Well, that time I had hidden myself in the storeroom. I remember I literally cried that day. Yes, I agreed. I got very furious that time as that sight was obviously unbearable for any man. But the thing is that if I would create such panic and crawl, what would happen next? I wanted to give my wife a lifetime lesson the way she dished me and played with my feelings. It was really unforgettable. When I checked out my phone, it was the ringing from the same girl who was in my office named Lava. Lava was divorced. And she proposed to me many times. In spite of being familiar with my marriage. Lava lived alone in an apartment along with her daughter. She's a really innovative and ambitious lady. While instead of wasting my tears, I did something really unexpected to my wife. The next morning when my wife woke up, she was all naked. As soon as she found me in front of her, she began to veil herself and asked me about my sudden arrival. I did not say her anything and asked Lava to throw her luggage outside of the house. I remember my wife literally panicked and screamed a lot at me. She was calling me a cheater. As I told my wife that I was going to marry Lava. I did not say her nothing, just showed her picture with her affair partner which I captured last night after watching the pictures. At first, she declined the fact and called pictures fake. Later she confessed something that was not less than a mystery. She said that she had already been married when she was 22 years old. She further said that person was her first and last love, but unfortunately, that person died in a car accident. She further said that I was just a good choice. When she joined the school, she interacted with a teenager who totally resembled her latex. After seeing that student, she couldn't control herself and started taking her extra classes. She soon succeeded in fixing her teenage student. She further said that school's principal was aware of this. So my wife used to entertain his principal as well. I literally found no regret on my wife's mood. She was perfectly all right. In fact, she did not apologize to me. I literally forced her at the moment because she actually never loved me. Now, I am living a peaceful life with the lover day before yesterday. I came to know that we are becoming parents. I came to know that Sarah is now living and working in an orphanage. The owner of the school where she used to work kicked her out, and the teenage student to whom she was dating is now in Canada for studies. What would you do if you were in the same situation?